it can reassemble. So these are the important nature or functions of the lipids. Now let us come to the next, that is the proteins. Now the protein, they constitute about 60% of the cell membrane. That means the chemical composition about 60% in average. And like the lipids, the proteins are again numerous and they are of diverse types. And the distribution of the proteins, it also varies on either side of the membrane. So that is, if we will discuss the proteins, so they constitute about 60% of the cell membrane. They are again of diverse types. Then unequally distributed on two sides of the membrane. Hence, it is known as sidedness. Sidedness. This is sidedness. That means unequally distributed on either sides. Now the proteins which are usually present, they are again of two types. They may be integral or intriguing proteins and external or extrinsic proteins. So if we will discuss the first one is integral or intrinsic proteins. Integral or intrinsic proteins. Now the integral or intrinsic proteins, they constitute about 20 to 30% of the total proteins that are present in the cell membrane. And they are usually the transmembrane proteins. The integrals, they are also known as transmembrane proteins. And these proteins, the integral proteins, which are known as transmembrane proteins, they usually span the entire bilayer of a protein, bilayer of lipids. That means if this is a bilayer of phospholipids, this is a bilayer of phospholipids, then these transmembrane proteins or integral proteins, they span the entire either once or twice, like this. Now it is so once it spans both sides. Sometimes it may span 2 or 3 times the same integral protein. Suppose let us take another one. Then again, that means the same protein, it spans 3 times. That means 1 or more times it spans both sides. These are integral proteins. Now these integral proteins, usually these are usually insoluble. These are not easily separable. Without disrupting the membrane. If you try to separate them, the entire membrane will be disrupted. For example, when we give detergents, the detergents, they can break this membrane and then only the proteins will come out. So otherwise they are not easily separable, and these proteins are attached to this bilayer of phospholipids by means of weak hydrophobic bonds, attached with the lipids by weak hydrophobic bonds. With hydrophobic bonds. So these are the characters, and example is you can take glycoproteins. So this is about the intriguing. Now the second type is known as external or intriguing proteins. External or peripheral. External or peripheral proteins. Now the external or peripheral proteins, they are present on either side of this. So either side means say, suppose here some proteins are there. That means this is the outer side, and some are present on this lower side of the cell membrane, towards the that is the cytoplasm. So they are present like this. These are the external or peripheral proteins. Now these proteins are usually, they are soluble. They are easily separable. And usually this common examples, if you will take the common examples, one example you can take spectrin, another example you can take cytochromes. These are some of the examples of external or peripheral proteins. So these are the two types of proteins which are usually present. Now, here we have discussed the functions of lipids. Similarly, what are the main functions of these proteins that are present in the cell membrane? Because they constitute about the 60% of the cell membrane. So the important functions you will write. Functions of proteins. Now one important thing is, these proteins, they may function as enzymes, and usually in the cell membrane nearly 30 such enzymes are present. And some of these enzymes, you can take the example is, we can take the example of this is, that is we can take that is of phosphatases, ATPases, all these enzymes are present in the cell membrane. So in addition to the enzymes, they may act as receptors, they may act as permeases, then some are channel transporters, and these are the channel transporters, which is transport of different types of ions, electrolytes, and all these things they will channel. So these are the important functions. That means they act as enzymes, they can act as receptors, they can act as permeases, they can act as channel transporters. So this cell membrane carries out different types of functions due to this protein natures. So you see the function of lipids is different, the function of proteins are all different. Now the third category is carbohydrates. The carbohydrates constitute only 1 to 5%. They constitute only 1 to 5%. And the carbohydrates which are present in the cell membrane, they are mostly oligosaccharides. Which may be branched or unbranched. Now these oligosaccharides are present. These oligosaccharides are present only on the outer face, not in the inner cell. That is, they are present on outer surface. Now this is the reason why the plasma membrane is asymmetric in nature, because they are present on the only outer side but not present on the inner side, so naturally it is asymmetric. present on the outer surface. So cell membrane is asymmetric. Now, if these oligosaccharides, they will be attached to the proteins, then they will be known as glycoproteins. And if they are attached to the lipids, they are known as glycolipids. That means, suppose now to this protein it will be present like this and will branch like this. Here the oligosaccharides. That means this is the protein, this is the carbohydrate. So it becomes glycoprotein. Now if it is attached to, suppose it is attached to this point, that means it is attached to the one of the layer of the lipids, then it is a glycolipid. That means this is a glycoprotein while this is glycolipid. And they are present only on the outer face, not on the inner face. Now, because of this, it gives a asymmetric nature to the cell membrane. And why they are present on the other side? Because the glycoproteins and glycolipids, they have two very important functions. That is cell recognition and cell adhesion. These two have two important functions: cell recognition and cell adhesion. That means whether this cell which is coming in contact with whether it is similar type or it is dissimilar type, it will recognize it. Then there will be attachment. So since it has to recognize on the outer side, that is why they are present on the outer side, not on the inner side. So these are this is the chemical composition of the cell membrane. It consists of lipids, proteins and carbohydrates, and the function of lipids, proteins, carbohydrates separately we have discussed. This is very important from examination point of view, and I hope you have a very clear understanding about this chemical composition of the plasma membrane. We wish a very bright future. God bless you.